let's try to figure out the empirical formula for some more complex ionic compounds. So let's say we're thinking about iron oxide, and this is actually a picture of iron oxide. And this isn't just any iron oxide, this is iron 3 oxide. We know that this is going to be an ionic compound because it's formed between a metal, iron, and a nonmetal, oxygen. Now, when we're talking about ionic compounds formed with what's often known as transition metals, and these are these metals right over here, and you can see that iron is right over there, different numbers of electrons can be taken from them. This is sometimes referred to their oxidation state. And so when you have these Roman numerals right over here, that essentially tells you how many electrons have been taken away from it. Or another way to think about it, you can think about it, this is its charge. If 3 electrons are taken from a neutral iron, then it's going to have a positive 3 charge. Now, this tells us this is an oxide. So it's an ionic compound that is formed with an ion version of oxygen. Now, if we look at oxygen, let me do this in another color. If we look at oxygen right over here, it has 8 total electrons, but in that second shell, it has 6 electrons, 6 valence electrons. It wants to get to 8. So typically, oxygen will take 2 electrons from someone else. So when we're dealing with oxides, we're typically dealing with taking 2 electrons from someone else or having a negative 2 charge. Now, we know that these two things need to combine in some way so that with the entire compound, the entire ionic compound, has a neutral charge. So how could that happen? Well, think about it this way. If you had 2 irons and 3 oxygens, then the charges cancel out. Let me write that down. So if we had 2 irons and we had 3 oxygens, then the total charge on the irons is going to be 2 times 3, positive 3, which is positive 6. And the total charge of the oxygens is going to be 3 times negative 2, which is negative 6. So positive 6, negative 6, they end up being neutral to 0. Now you might say, Sal, how did you figure that out? Well, I encourage you to say, well, there's an intuition there. But there's also something known as the crossover technique, which is really just saying, okay, if you have this type of situation where you know that iron 3 is going to have a positive 3 charge, and oxygen typically is going to have a negative 2 charge or 2 minus charge, well, then you can swap the charges for how many of the other one you have. So oxygen has a negative 2 charge, so then you're going to have 2 irons, and iron has a positive 3 or 3 plus charge, so you're going to have 3 oxygens. So that's often called the crossover trick, but I want you to get the intuition for that, why that works. Just 1 iron and 1 oxygen isn't going to cancel out. So if you have 2 irons, then that's a positive 6 charge. So you need 3 oxygens to counteract that to get to a neutral iron 3 oxide. Let's do another example. Let's say that we're looking at calcium oxide. So once again, what type of ion is calcium likely to form? Well, we see calcium right over here. And all of the elements in this second column, it's easiest for them to get to a full outer shell by losing 2 electrons. So calcium will typically have, by losing 2 electrons, the calcium ion will have a 2 plus charge. And then we've already talked about oxides will typically have a 2 minus charge. And now, if you just blindly did this crossover technique, you'd say, all right, 2 minus charge for the oxygen. So I would put 2 calciums there, and then 2 plus charge for the calcium. So I would put 2 oxygens there. And you'd say, well, maybe this is the empirical formula. But you want to make the empirical formula as simple as possible. And you notice that both of these 2's are divisible by 2. And so you can, in some ways, the way you learn to reduce fractions in middle school, you could reduce this here and say, all right, well, this is, if I divide both of these by 2, I get to a calcium oxide like this, which is the true empirical formula for calcium oxide. Now, my brain tends to not like to do the crossover trick because it's a trick and you're not really thinking about what's going on. What I'd like to say is, well, look, calcium oxide, 2 plus, 2 minus, they will just automatically cancel out each other. So I would go straight to the calcium oxide. Now, the last thing I'll emphasize is things that are in the same column in the periodic table oftentimes can be swapped out in these ionic compounds. For example, calcium oxide exists, but calcium sulfide is also another ionic compound. And sulfur, because it's in the same column of the periodic table, it also tends to form a negative ion with a 2- charge. And so the empirical formula for calcium sulfide, very similar to that for calcium oxide. It is just going to be Ca, let me do that in a lighter color. It is just going to be calcium. For every 1 calcium, you have 1 sulfur. Positive 2 charge, or 2+ charge, and a 2- charge right over here. Likewise, you have sodium chloride, but you can also have sodium fluoride, or you can also have lithium fluoride, or lithium chloride, and you can go on and on and on.